Kyoto is more than just an anagram of Tokyo. It's one of the most photogenic cities in Japan. But what are their sports venues like? Let's find out. Here are the stadiums and arenas of Kyoto, Japan. Takabishi Stadium, Kyoto. In case you were wondering, Takabishi is a company that makes factory automation equipment. Which got me thinking, who makes the equipment for the Takabishi factory? A factory automation equipment factory, that's who. But then, never mind. In these Japanese city videos, I often talk about a stadium having hosted the 15th National Sports Festival, or the 38th National Sports Festival, which is arguably not even worth mentioning. But in this case it is, because this ground hosted the very first one in 1946. The stadium was actually built 4 years prior in the midst of World War II. It has been the preeminent football stadium in the city for most of its existence, and was home to Kyoto Sanga, the city's biggest football club, until 2019. They built themselves a new purpose-built stadium that we'll get to later on. But first we have to check out the other venues that this particular sports park has to offer. Next door is Wakasa Stadium, Kyoto. Although there are 2 MPB teams in the region, Kyoto itself doesn't have any professional baseball team. But as we've seen in previous videos, a lack of a professional team does not stop a Japanese city from building a ballpark of significant size, as is the case here. The reason for this is that amateur games can attract fairly large crowds, but also it has occasionally hosted MPB games. Not many though. Having said that, this venue dates back to 1932, which is shortly before professional baseball even became a thing in Japan. I doubt the design has changed all that much over the years. This still looks like an old school ballpark. But the amenities have at least been improved slightly in recent years. The manual scoreboard was replaced with a video board, and the remaining benches were replaced with bucket seats. Kataoka Arena, Kyoto. This is home to Kyoto Hanaris, a basketball team. I'm sure you're wondering what a Hanaris is, as was I. Well, it's kind of a made-up word that's derived from a word from the local dialect, Hanari, which means like sophisticated, elegant, that sort of thing. A venue of this modest size doesn't seem befitting of the city's biggest basketball club. They do after all compete in the country's top tier. Perhaps the city should build a new arena. It could maybe be built on the side of, I don't know, an aging sports facility that's no longer profitable? I guess we'll have to see. They do actually sometimes play at another venue, which we'll get to later on. Sanga Stadium by Kyocera. Kyocera, by the way, is the company that manufactured the solar panels that you see there on the roof. This is the newest stadium in the city and probably the whole Kansai region, as it opened in 2020. I say it's in the city, but really it's in the town of Kameoka, which is over on the other side of the hills to the west of Kyoto. It's still very accessible though. The Kameoka station is a little over 100 meters away from the ground. Design-wise, this is rather interesting. Parts of the exterior are comprised of timber, which is always a nice touch. That, combined with the way the roof comes to a point in the corners, does remind me a little of some of the temples that you see in Japan. I love it. I don't think too many temples look quite like this on the inside though. Oh, and since we keep talking about names, I should mention that Sangha refers to a Sanskrit term that means a club or a group. I think it has something to do with Buddhism. Perhaps it's like how you have a gaggle of geese or a pride of lions. You have a Sangha of Buddhists? No. Lovely stadium though. Shimata Arena, Kyoto is the part-time home of Kyoto Hanaris that I alluded to about a minute ago. Architecturally speaking, the building looks like a shoebox. But they're not here for the architecture. They're here because it has about twice the capacity of their regular home. So when a larger crowd is expected, they schedule their game here. As you can see, this place hosts a wide variety of sports, from tennis to the tabletop version known as the ping pongs, also volleyball. Oh, and Shimatsu, the company that the arena is named after, manufactures precision instruments. I wonder if they use Takabishi factory automation equipment. That's something I love about Japan. There are factories everywhere. That might sound strange, but where I grew up, it was just grapes, cows, kangaroos, and the occasional tomato. Kyoto Mamachi Keirin Velodrome. Outdoor velodromes are an antiquated remnant of the past in most countries, but Japan still has plenty of these Keirin tracks. It's still a popular sport to bet on. However, this particular venue has not been profitable for a long time. And as I not so subtly alluded to earlier, in the coming years an 8 to 10,000 seat arena will be built on this site. But for fans of track cycling there is good news, as only part of this venue will be demolished. It'll be out of action for just a few years. The track will host one last event before the redevelopment, that being the Keirin at the 79th National Sports Festival in 2025, which is being held in the neighbouring prefecture of Shiga. I guess they don't have a suitable venue over there. They plan on having the arena open by 2029 or 2028, depending on how quickly the years go by. 2024, for instance, has flown by, according to the people I've spoken to. Honourable mentions now. Kyoto Aqua Arena is a curious place, not just due to its unusual kidney bean shape and its portmanteau name, but it's actually an ice arena in the winter and a swimming pool in the summer. It's very important to make sure you check which season it is before using the diving boards. Because if you jump from 10 meters high head first onto the ice, you're gonna get cold. Speaking of cold, this place is so damn cool. I almost want to upgrade it from just an honourable mention. It is just a few hundred seats shy of the capacity cutoff, which is arbitrary anyway. There we are. But yeah, I love the steeply stacked double-tiered seating, and those big windows that let in a ton of light during the daytime. This is the only ice skating rink in the city, by the way, so in the summertime, the locals who are fond of ice skating will have to take the train to Osaka. So there you have it. They were an interesting bunch. As for my favourite, well, it took a lot of willpower not to choose Kyoto Aqua Arena, because I do love the more unusual venues. But it does have to be Sanga. It's a well-equipped football stadium with some interesting architectural qualities, as well as a pleasant interior colour scheme, and it's powered by the sun, which is always a plus. Subscribe if you want to, I'll be doing more Japanese cities in the future. Thanks for watching, have a good one.